Good evening. It's I'll call to order the workshop for the Irving School District School Board for April 17th, 2023. We have present, all board members present except for board member Roll, who's not being able to attend, along with interim superintendent Frank Norton. Will please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. First things we have on our agenda is some policies. Mr. Norton, you're gonna take that lead?
Yeah, just to, during the workshop to go over those, if you had a chance to be able to go through those policies, are very simple. Really, it's, and they'll be right in, the meeting, when we get to the actual meeting, we'll approve them at that meeting if there isn't any topic of conversation that changes things as we go through the workshop. But first one, 101, really just talks about clarifying the school district name. And because we go by a lot of names, and it just says this is what the official name is going to be, the Red Wing Public Schools is our official name. And the second one, 104, really is about our mission statement. And just the adoption of that mission statement, and then every 3 years we'll take a look at that, see if we still believe that that holds true for the district. So again, at the meeting coming up at 6 o'clock, we'll put those on for the board to approve if they so wish.
Questions?
I have a question about the mission statement. I know in our equity meetings, there's been discussion about productive citizens, that wording, and I think, I don't know if it was Mr. Norton, but someone had brought up the idea of adding world and saying world citizens. I'm not saying I want it changed now. I know we'll probably go through the process as we go through the 5-year plan, you know, in the future, but I just want that to be noted. If we don't change it at this point, that it has been discussed that that should be changed, and I agree with that.
Where was this discussed?
The equity committee meeting,
Okay.
I think, yeah, you had brought it up a while ago.
Yeah. Yeah. 2 years ago. So what, I'm sorry, productive citizens to what?
Productive world citizens was a suggestion.
Mr. Estes?
Well, I just wondered too about approving a mission statement when we're about to head into a process that will perhaps lead us to something different.
They're not actually approving the mission statement,
Okay.
approving the policy that adopted the mission statement.
Okay,
So we'll work on the mission statement through the educational planners that are coming up. This is really just the policy that states that we have a mission statement. And it is reviewed frequently,
Right.
and this would be the year to do it.
okay,
So this will come back to you again.
perfect.
All good questions. That's why we're here, just to talk about it, talk it
Right.
through at the workshop. So when it comes time to just say, we need to review these every single year as we go through policies.
Any other questions? Okay. Next topic, Dr. Wagner, and cultural training for school board updates.
So I don't have a formal presentation, but I will share the documents. So I was able to secure Dr. Sheldon Akins, which I'm pretty pleased about. So, and also Miss Stephanie Autumn, who's done some restorative practices for us. So I'm looking at this as like global, like retreat. So Stephanie is super flexible. Dr. Sheldon Akins is giving us current year dates. Essentially, it's 2 dates we have to pick, and I know that was probably unclear. Essentially, I was asking you to look at your calendar and see where can we come to comfortable consensus to get the 2 dates with Dr. Sheldon Akins, and then 1 consensus on a date for Stephanie Autumn. So
For Dr. Aiken, should those 2 dates be back to back, or does that matter?
they can be, they don't have to be.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a little easier for him if he does come back to back, but we don't, I asked the same question.
Okay.
He just gave what was available and.
Got it.
Yeah. We could do something early and then kind of circle back in the fall, and in the interim time, we can work with Stephanie. But it's really about what your calendars are and what works, and if you don't have everything tonight too, just getting me like a set of dates that we can agree on, then I can lock it in and we are ready to go then.
Did everybody chance to look at and come up with dates now? Be better than us just sending them to you whenever we get a
Yeah,
chance to.
I mean,
I'd rather do them jointly together.
sure. And we don't have Pam here, so it
Yeah,
would
that's the only other thing.
be, okay.
Will everybody be at the next meeting? Everybody
Well,
not
do
gonna be
we
at the
need
next,
to decide before?
What's that?
then? Do we need to decide before then?
I don't know.
The
Sooner
next
the better.
meeting is May 1st, so that would probably eliminate the beginning of, I don't know.
Well, we can pick them and then she had a chance to, she didn't reach out to, she reached out to anybody to you, Martina?
No.
So
So,
are we moving forward with both people?
So there was 2 potential trainers for the cultural competency, so I picked one, Dr. Higgins, the courageous, Luis Versalis, super booked out. So we would be looking into late at the end of this year. So he was available. Stephanie is a whole different, it's bringing in our indigenous restorative practices that our leadership team actually went through. And I think, well, Therese had some of the training there, but this will kind of bring in from a governance perspective, a lot of just restorative pieces that we need with our community and with each other as a team that I think complements really well and is really responsive to our community as well.
For me personally, May is tough already. Like I have so many things scheduled, but especially to try to do like 2 of the dates in May would be really hard for me. But I think at this point I could make any of the others work. But the sooner to know, the better. Like even the beginning of May is maybe tough to like be scheduling and stuff just with other like work obligations and things.
Sure.
For me personally, but I don't know how others feel.
I'm out for May and June I'm already into harvest season, well, I'm not into harvest season, but I will be in May and June though.
I was gonna say the dates in June are like high graduation,
Mhm.
celebration times, that's right after graduation, so those are probably
Yeah.
more difficult dates.
Are those September dates both Mondays, for September and October? Sorry, that might
They are all
be
Mondays.
good for us, well, the evening, I mean, we
Oh,
kind of have.
do we have the
Mondays.
board meetings?
No, these are opposite the board meetings.
Okay.
well, I know the September dates don't work for me, so let's go right to October.
Okay.
9th and 23rd. That's so far out that. I don't
It's
get that.
easier to not have conflicts when it's further out, right?
Yeah. Mondays are during the day, I've got my grandkids, but if I knew this far ahead of time, I think my son and daughter-in-law could.
The other thing I can do is if we're already looking into next school year is just say, what is your availability September through December? And see what those, and then I would have the school board meeting dates, all of that figured out, what, like MEAs and different things like that. And I could he's fine. I mean, I can respond.
He had
back.
nothing in August.
No, because consultants in August with this are all schools,
All like back to
keynotes,
school.
back to, I mean, we'd have to book them out probably 3 years for an August date.
Well, the 9th and 23rd of October currently work for everybody?
Not the 9th, it's Indigenous Peoples' Day,
Oh,
But, oh, yeah, that's right.
and we already have something planned for that.
Sure, why don't you see if the 23rd and 30th are available?
okay.
Or,
That's the 5th Monday of the month.
Do you want to do a back-to-back? So it'd be like 2 days in a
Monday and
row,
Tuesday.
a Monday and a
23rd,
Tuesday?
24th? 30th, 31st, and there's a Halloween costumes.
I'm good for the 23rd.
Yeah, I could-
23rd, 24th, see if we can do that.
Of October, correct.
So then, with Stephanie, do we want to work with her? She is available in August. Could maybe do some August work, but I don't, and then she's open pretty much September on. Maybe we could even start with the restorative piece and then finish with Dr. Akins.
For me, at this point, the dates that you have in August are fine for me. But
I can't do the last 3.
The what?
In August, really only the 9th and the 16th work for me.
They don't work for me, so let's look at September then. Ever give us some dates?
Okay, she is wide open, so if you guys want to pick a date, I'll just say this is the day.
So that's a 6-hour training,
Yeah.
so that's like going to be during a work day.
Yes.
All the dates you have, right? Are
Yes.
all work days.
But in September is open, so if we want to try to prioritize a Monday or,
at this point, I'm pretty flexible in September.
Can we do it, we have to do a Monday, or can we do a different day?
she said she's wide open in September, so get throw out a couple different dates and I can check.
I could do a Thursday or a Monday.
How about the
Easiest.
21st of September, it's a Thursday, or 28th?
I can find either of those.
It works, okay. Let her pick.
21st or 28th? Okay. All right, well done. I'll circle back to both of them and bring it back.
It's tough trying to get so many calendars to match up.
But look at- you
really
did
is, You know,
You did
as you
it.
go
Well,
forward.
hopefully, we'll see what Pam says. I can shoot her a text quick and tell her
Okay.
that these are the tentative dates,
She's not in the country.
just so that we don't forget that. We'll see it when she can.
Any other
Okay.
questions about content or everybody's good? You have the write-ups?
Where are you gonna have them, here at the building? Where are
We
gonna have them?
can decide location. You know, once we have the date set, we can be on campus or we can be off-site somewhere at a training facility. Maybe we can host at Tribal Chambers or the Prairie Island Community Center too, might be. I can reach out to Paul Dressen for that too,
Mhm,
so,
that'd be fine.
all right.
Thank you.
No, how, is it full days, is it 8-hour days, or?
It's about 6 hours worth of content, so we'll probably break for lunch.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Great. We talked about doing some type of a workshop, a retreat too, sometime. And I don't know if we can coincide it with the same time, since getting everybody together another date would be tough enough. So maybe we could try to arrange something that at the same time, maybe before the training or something, have a little treat, we can work on that.
Yeah, you can all come to Faribault.
Sorry?
Field trip.
The
Okay.
slumber party at your house.
All right, the Well at Work Clinic.
So the board had asked, that some information, or at least a conversation basically, take place regarding the Well at Work, and I'm not sure whether it's just to introduce basically some of the new board members, or what it was that we were looking at, but I can provide any information that you wanted to. Well at Work Clinic is available to all staff within the district to be able to utilize. It's a preventive sort of model that you go, and you have an annual checkup. You could use it for checkups. You could use it, it came in very handy for our COVID testing during our 2 years where there was a frequent need for testing at that particular site. It's something that is used, especially now, with several options outside of Mayo, or 2 other options outside of Mayo. It may be a little bit more difficult to get into a Mayo situation because they don't have that insurance. So it's utilized now more frequently. So if you wanted any information on that at all, and the people that wanted more information, I can certainly talk about it, or you guys can talk through it this time.
Questions? Anybody have a question? Go ahead.
I have a couple questions. Just historically, can you tell me, Frank, when that clinic came into play and why? I'm assuming it had to do with financial benefit.
It was something that was strongly from my understanding, very strongly needed within the district, specifically with the staff. They wanted to have immediate access to something very handy, right here, within a local vicinity. As far as the timing is concerned, I couldn't tell you the date. Maybe somebody more local might be able to tell you, but I think it's been in place for a number of years. It was something that, through negotiations, specifically the teachers union, I know was very strongly advocating for something like that. It also had to do if you were proactive, or if you had, if you got ahead of it and you went in for annual checkups and it didn't have a cost associated with it, it would reduce the number of visits, longer term illnesses that you might have if you caught it early. So if you had access, and thus reducing the actual percentages as far as our increases on insurance. So it's a proactive measure basically to put into place, something that the teachers and I know staff value within the district.
Because this is preventative care that they felt they couldn't get in a timely enough manner, like at Mayo or another facility that their insurance also covered, or?
I think that's just a piece of it. I'm saying specifically now because we've offered 2 plans that are outside of Mayo. So those would require, them to be able to go somewhere different. So it's easier for them to be able to come specifically directly here. It's also work absence because it's right here. They don't have to leave. They don't have to take a day to be able to go for an appointment. So that was another reason basically, because if you have it and it's immediate access and you can go during your prep and you can come back again. The scheduling is also another matter because there might be a schedule a long time out for your doctor. You just really needed to go over for a wellness check or to have your, your blood pressure monitored, anything that happens over at the wellness clinic. It's easy access for them to have access to that, more immediate response to an illness that they might have coming on or something like that.
Well, I use it because I'm self-pay with the district's health insurance, and primarily for me, it's urgent care. So if I think I'm getting a sinus infection, and I know with staff too that have young kids, you think there's an ear infection and it's expensive to go to the doctor, then you can get an appointment at the Well at Work clinic. And they have some medications antibiotics and high use things that you get for free. And otherwise they can write prescriptions for anything. But yeah, if you have to have blood pressure checks, those kinds of things that would be more expensive if you went to your primary care physician. But I still go to my primary care physician, so.
Can I ask a couple questions in regard to what we pay to have this clinic? And are we saving money on other plans for insurance by having this clinic?
I don't have the specific data as to how much we would be saving because that's based off of percentages. If there's an 18% increase, would it have been more? Had more people gone to their primary physicians or had urgent care as opposed to catching it early because they went to the wellness clinic? I don't have any of that. Cost is actually split with the city of Red Wing based on visits per month. So the city of Red Wing uses the wellness clinic as well. And the percentage of visits that come from the city and the percentage of visits that come from the school district. Right now the city uses about 20 to 25% compared to the school district, 75%. If you wanted a percentage of use inside there. The cost annually for 2021, the final cost was $406,890. And the estimate for this year is $420,300, and that's before the city contribution. So you could take off 25% of that cost if it holds true that the city stays at about 25%.
So is that something that we since, as far as I know, since we've had the clinic, it's always been Health Partners. Is that something we look to take bids on competitors, or does this get reviewed, this relationship, or it's just in place and it just continually renews? And does anyone look at it, or?
The There are people that are, Jackie obviously is, controlling the costs or looking at the costs and budgeting for the costs. As far as the review, I guess I don't have that information, sorry. But I can bring that to you.
Does the health insurance committee look at that?
We do, and we were looking at, it's been some time since we bid it, we were looking at bidding it. It was designed to try to keep insurance costs down, but this, for a number of years it did. There was some negative amounts there, but this year, this year it's 18%, as Mr. Norton stated. So the idea was encouraging people to go to the Well at Work clinic if they have school insurance, because you're right, you get your blood pressure checked, you can get a shingle vaccination, you can get some prescriptions, you can get blood work done if you need it for something. And there's no cost to the person going there, but there is a cost. So it's not free, but there is a cost. The more you use it, the idea is that you keep your cost of going to your primary medical provider, whoever that may be. It could be Olmsted, Mayo, could be someplace up in the cities, wherever. The idea is to keep your premiums lower. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, of course, especially if somebody has some still long, some type of an illness that requires intensive care or extensive care.
So do we pay Health Partners a lump sum to have that clinic open, or do we pay per usage when an employee uses it?
I think there's a lump sum, and then there would be probably a usage too. Because they have to have some money up. If nobody goes there, they have to have some money. So. Jackie, you got your hand raised?
Yes, it is a flat rate for the year for the staff, and then it's for supplies used is how we pay them.
Supplies?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Jackie, I'm gonna bring you back on again. Do you remember the last time it was reviewed? Chair Brian?
No, it has been, I would say, at least 5 to 7 years since we've bid it out. It was one of my first years as business manager.
And if I remember at one of our meetings, there's a deadline of so many months or days you have to ask to want to rebid it. So it's either 2 or 4 months or something like that. So
I want to say it's up to like 6 months we have to give them notice in the last amendment. And I heard another question.
we have a meeting next Monday, so we'll find out there then too. We can ask that. Go
I was
ahead.
wondering if we lease the building or if Health Partners pays the lease.
We lease the building.
Who does?
We do, from Youth Outreach.
Is that included in the 400 and some thousand?
It is.
Any other questions? We'll bring back more information at our next meeting too about bidding it out. But yeah, we do have Blue Cross now. So Health Partners is still involved. It's a Health Partners program that we do through Blue Cross Blue Shield. Jackie?
They are separate contracts. So the contract with Health Partners is through their group. It's not group health, but it's like through their clinic staffing end. And Blue Cross is a standalone health insurance. So they're completely separate contracts, not reliant on one or the other. Any visits that go through the clinic do not run through our health insurance plans.
All right. Thank you. Any other questions? Yes.
So Jackie, is that then what causes savings for the district? If when you use that clinic, that's what keeps our premiums lower? Maybe?
Yes, because the usage is not going against our health insurance premiums. So then the usage doesn't reflect when we are being rated actuarially for renewal. So usage of the clinic then would not be included in our usage of our health insurance plan.
Okay. All right, thank you. Next we have Tower View discussion.
I just wanted to update the board during the workshop session as to the status. Basically, at our last meeting, during my administrative reports, I talked about the ALC, specifically Tower View. There are a number of people that were here to speak toward that. I just wanted to give everybody an update as to where we were. So the superintendent, GCED superintendents met again last week, and we're going to meet again on Wednesday. At that particular meeting, there was more discussion about where we started in this whole conversation, and that was basically the costs associated with sending a kid to an ALC, whether that was within the River Bluff system or whether that was at Tower View. That's where the conversation started. It also dovetailed off a little bit, basically, when we talked about the security of the building out at Tower View and some of the health things that were happening out at Tower View. So it was two separate, if you remember my conversation about that. So leading to the first one, at last week's superintendent's meeting, the conversation centered again about finances. So what we're gonna do on this following Wednesday coming up is review another method, basically, of being able to if you send a kid there, how are those charges made to the individual districts? There are several different methods to be able to do that. There's the GCED has always used one method, and Jackie is well aware of that particular method. She went out and researched a couple of more. One more at this particular meeting was brought forward by another superintendent and asked that we explore that particular method. That's going to come to us again on Wednesday. The hope is to be able to, while we're looking at that, to divide it so that one particular district isn't getting hit by a larger amount. The more kids you have in a program, the more you divide the cost over that. And one district might have fewer kids in that particular district is hit harder than other districts as far as spreading out the costs out. So Jackie's going to bring forward a proposal, or at least a method of looking at that, the dividing the cost between the various school districts. So that's one that we're going to be doing. The other is increasing the membership within increasing and looking at how many kids can get into these programs. Again, it goes to, the more kids you have in these programs that need these services, can they get in? How do they get in there? And if they need to be in there, let's get them in there. So we've talked about Tower View. We began the process of talking with Tower View about not holding spaces for other districts, and looking at the review process for getting kids in. If they need to be in Tower View, let's get them into Tower View so that they have the access to what they need to be successful. In the past, it was believed that there was a waiting list to get in, so we looked at that to get as many kids as we could possibly in there. Our district right now can have 15-1 as far as staff members that are out there. We're running currently at about 13-1. So there is room to have kids out there and to use that more so than it's being right now. That would bring us basically from about 64 kids out there that are currently utilizing Tower View up to about 75 is the intent and what we're hoping. That's only if they want to go there. We don't want to stop them from going there. So that's one of the processes as well. As when we're doing that, we're also looking at River Bluff and making sure that the access to that particular program is increasing at the same time. How do we get kids that need that program into that program? Expediting basically that service. When we looked at it, if you could just picture for a second, there's 3 programs that run. I'm gonna do a visual Venn diagram for the crowd inside here. There's Bubbles, and there's 3 of them, right? So there's 3 different programs that happen within the River Bluff facility. We have our level 4 programming within that building. We have our ALC programming within there, and we have our transitions programming within there. So there's lots of programs that happen, and one central group of staffing right in the middle that goes to all of that programming. So that was the concept behind it. If we brought the ALC in to that programming, those same central core now would just be a fourth bubble and they would go to those 4 spaces within there, and that would reduce the cost. At this particular time, not necessarily looking at doing that. We're gonna put that on hold for a little while according to the superintendent. Now, all this depends on the GCED, but it's a recommendation at this point. And again, based off of what happens with Jackie when she brings forward basically another plan to be able to distribute the costs. Right now, we're looking at maintaining the ALC at Tower View and looking at it more closely, increasing and allowing that number to be able to go up, thus reducing the number of the cost to be able to educate a student at that one, simultaneously doing that. But for now, leaving that program where it is with the staffing. The staffing right now has been reduced. We all know that, right? Because staffing, and we met an April deadline and those staff came down. That still is status quo. Nothing has been changed with that. So we're going to be looking at that as well on Wednesday. If we do decide that that's going to go in that particular direction and it goes to the GCED board and the board decides that that's the action, we want to wait a year, we want to wait to see what happens, then we would be putting that staff back in there to make sure that we can have that 75 at 15-1. If the board decides, well, let's look at something different, and that's, but right now, the superintendents, I'm reporting to as a superintendent what happened at that particular meeting, but that is going to be the recommendation moving forward. And again, depends on what happens as far as the financing and coming back with a model of being able to distribute those costs. So I'll open it up for questions.
Well, I'm concerned that how quickly can we just make this decision? Because we have staff that are being let go that we really need to keep. And it's not really fair to them to kind of leave them hanging. And my other question is, I know that these programs are based on tuition that gets charged back to the district, but we also have a lot of other services that come out of that district. And I'm wondering if it's possible to take a look at positions and things that are further away from the kids. Like administration has grown exponentially over the last few years. And are we looking at if efficiencies there?
We are.
Okay.
So that was done simultaneously. So this meeting was about 2.5 hours last Wednesday. Anticipated it'll happen again. All of the staff was put up. We went right through each one of them. And if you look at a chart, basically, yes, the administrative staff on the top increase, that was by district. So for example, if we needed a special education administrator within this district, which we hired, that's a 1.0 toward our district, but that was governed by this board. We would have to remove that in order to keep that. That would be our special education director within our district. We added that. So as each district says, this is what we want to be able to add in, we're charged back directly by that. It's not GCEDs, and it doesn't go to those kids. It comes back directly to us. We're charged back directly from the GCED to have that administrative staff. So it does look as though the administrative staff, but it doesn't impact the cost for a kid to go to the Tower View. Those administrative staff costs are directly billed back to the district.
And then what about some of the directors and staff that are on the ed district, specifically admin team? I don't want to name names,
No,
but
don't do that.
positions.
But yeah, all
Are
of
we
it.
looking at that too?
All of every district, all of the district staff are
Because those people
listed.
serve all of the, I understand that a special ed director serves just Red Wing or Lake City and Goodhue, but there are some positions there that are ed district wide,
Yeah, Yeah.
And
so
so,
all of those staff who were listed out, including all the way down into administrative assistants, are listed out as to where they are within that building. And the 0.33 social workers that we have for each one of those. All of that was looked at at that meeting. And that's why can we do that? Or can we look at a different model for billing each one of these districts that's more equitably and fair to the districts? And can we can we maintain what we have as far as services are concerned? Because to go in and just downsize an administrative assistant or a special education director isn't gonna, that's not gonna solve, that just puts more load onto the actual administrator. So we did look at all of those kinds of things, yes. That's why it's the model of finding out how can we raise revenue to be able to meet the needs of the kids as opposed to taking teachers away
Right,
to meet the revenue we currently have. How can we increase the revenue? That's the direction we're taking.
right.
And that will bring to you as the
Yeah.
GCD board.
Yes.
Would you expect to have a recommendation for the GCD board after Wednesday so that they can vote on it? This is the
This
27th.
27th is our next meeting.
That is our plan. We contact the staff members that are affected out there when they contact us. So I've spoken with a number of them that are out there, and they're in contact with our administrative team. So they're not losing their jobs, they're getting jobs, they're being placed back in to the school district. The ones who have, but not all,
Right,
to be fair.
right. And does that mean, I feel like there's a position there that is in danger of being lost, that is very important, or that is an integral part of what they do there?
That's kind of my feeling too. No, those people aren't losing their jobs, but the students and staff at Tower View are losing out on those individuals who are being removed from their positions. So that, and I know you understand that, I know it's, the process that has to be gone through, but I think that needs to be recognized.
Not sure, so the process that we're looking at right now is that they've been essentially laid off. The GCED said, we're gonna give those staff members back to Red Wing Public Schools because they were buying their time essentially. So those are the integral pieces that you're talking about. If we were to say, we wanna make that whole again, then we would put those staff members back. And they're still out there for the remainder of the school year. They're not gone now.
Right,
They're still out there for the remainder of the school year. So we would have until the fall, basically, to be able to do something like that. Of course, we don't want to. We want them to recognize that it's possible that they could go back into those jobs as quickly as possible, or to know that they could have those positions back as quickly as possible.
and would that be every person who's been told they don't have a job out there?
That's not determined. This is just the plan right now, is to make that program work out there
Right,
and to make it whole. But I can't say that. It's not our
Right.
program.
right.
It's, as a
Right.
GCD board, that would be something that you would need to advocate for. But as
Okay,
our portion right here is that we would like the ALC, from what I gather, basically in the board's direction and the chair's direction, that we would like the ALC to operate. Our other alternative, of course, is to do an AOP, which would be programmatic within our district. I believe, my own opinion basically is that's something we could do in a short period of time, but right now, we would like to be able to just make it run as an ALC. That's the superintendent's wish, and I believe that would you as a board member would like to see as well, just to
Right.
continue. But if we do need to, we could take that back and make it whole as well. All of those are on the table.
right. It's difficult because I think, to kind of piggyback on what Jennifer said, this kind of, you have students who experience on a daily basis insecurity, instability, trauma, and that is their stable place. And now here they are, and the adults are doing the best they can to try to keep this away from the kids so it doesn't impact them. But these are 16, 17, 18-year-old kids. They're not dumb. They feel this. And I think what Jennifer is saying is we really need to acknowledge that. I need to bring that back to the Ed District Board, that our number one thing should be keeping kids in mind and doing what's best for kids. We always need to think about that. That has to be our number one.
You brought up the AOP, and I think we're all in favor of the Tower View staying at Tower View. I'm not positive I'm in favor of an ALC versus ALP. I mean, ALP may be something we want to explore further, for sure. First off, it's our program then. Then Tower View deals with us and not with another entity. The costs are there, we know what the costs are. I'm not positive we get the right numbers in the past from the person administering it, the group that is administrating it now. So this is what, Dr. Wagner, would you come up, you talked to MDE,
I what?
Minnesota
Department of Education, about ALP?
So the one option that I'll put in the space is that we do have the state supporting us in taking the ALP back, or bringing the ALP back to Red Wing. It'd be a pretty quick turnaround. We have the application. I have the application. I have information that I can put into the application and turn it around. This is a really, right now, we're in the 11th hour of really having this critical and previous conversation. As we start talking in the board meeting about losing students, it would actually capture those students back. They are currently identified in Red Wing as our students, but again, it's just another scoop to ensure that we are giving the services in Red Wing to students who need an alternative learning program. There will be added costs, I won't lie about that, because we have to look at what has GCED purchased, what are the things that we don't share, have to give back. We'd have to transition into being on Infinite Campus to Synergy. There's a little bit of a learning curve there. But it would be a matter of retaining the staff and really looking at optimizing the program for Red Wing. The other thing to note, which is a little bit of a misconception, is that we can have students open enroll from other districts and join our ALP, but they become Red Wing students. So graduating with a Red Wing diploma, as opposed to now where they can actually get their homeschool diploma. So there are things that we can negotiate and figure out what we can do to bring it back. I believe the ALC came in, the ALC actually was outsourced to GCD in 2013, which I believe is when kind of all the big changes were happening. So we did have a full functioning ALC with middle level programming up until about 2013. So it's not totally out of the realm, long-term to be looking at creating an ALC district-wide with the right middle level supports, retaining our targeted services and the ADM associated with that for revenue generating. That would take a longer process, but the ALP, the state is supporting us with submitting the application, giving us an extension and working with us to submit that. So I just need to put that in the space because I've done a little bit of research. Jackie does have to cost out a little bit of what it would cost there would be a little bit of added cost because we'd be looking at pulling back to teachers that are on GCED contracts and what that costs for us and what curriculum we need to purchase and other pieces and then additionally looking at a portion or component of an administrator, what that might look like and feel like for that program. So it's not totally out of the realm, but.
And so when you say we're in the last possible time, what is the final deadline? Do we have until our next meeting?
We have until about the middle of May.
Okay.
So this has been kind of expedited quickly.
Sure.
We're collecting everything that we need to write our narratives and get our budgets and do that. Again, there is a superintendent's meeting on Wednesday that I'll be able to be a part of and kind of hear the new proposal too, to get the full picture on that. And it's not a bad idea to think about. I'm just talking as superintendent-elect to think about, our declining enrollment and options and long-term planning. But
I have a couple of questions.
Go ahead.
So I may just have this misunderstood. I was under the impression that some aspect of ALC work that we had done in the past, we aren't licensed for, or something that we had to do something through GCED, but I'm not sure what exactly that was, if it was level 4 or if it was ALC, but something that GCED does is something that we were doing but shouldn't be doing, or something, there's something like that.
okay.
I don't know. Okay.
The only thing I can loosely
And
relate
it's
is
very fuzzy, so I maybe shouldn't even say anything.
GCD will have a still functioning ALC even if we take
Yeah.
back an ALP, which will still be running our targeted services and our credit recovery and all of those pieces. Our middle level programming pathways is run through. In the event we pull back the ALC, we also have to think about what does that targeted services look like internally, and we would manage that. There are a lot of pieces to unravel and untangle and then kind of rebuild with that, which the state was very clear on It would take much longer for us to get to that point, but an easy kind of turnaround if we were at this point, because we're not starting at ground zero. We have staff, we have a location, we have a highly functioning program. It's just a matter of like unraveling who has what and what does that look like. And you would really come back to everything that Red Wing is doing. So essentially our teachers there would also need to look at what is happening programmatically that would align with an ALP within our district. So those are all things that we can do to help support that as well.
The other question I have is, with the Red Wing Promise, if we had it as, so I think currently if a student is a Red Wing student, they go to Tower View, they still get a Red Wing diploma, so they would be eligible for that.
Yes.
If we made it an ALP, if somebody from like Cannon Falls came, they would get a Red Wing diploma, would they then be eligible for that as
I'm
well?
assuming because they would have to open enroll. So
And that's the only way an ALP, they could be involved
Is
in
it open enroll?
by opening enrollment because it's an ALP.
there are some other, like, nuances to that. So we could dig a little bit deeper into that part, but it's not totally out of the question to have other students from other districts come into that ALP open enroll here and attend.
And we should probably check with the, is it called the Navigator? From, what that was,
Good promise, yeah.
from the Promise to see if that would,
Diane.
that'd be an easy question to ask
Okay.
her. And see if that, what your question is that.
They
I
would
think
be
if that is the
graduating with a
case-
Dd Wing diploma. So even if they open enroll,
I don't know if that'd be a Red Wing resident too. They may, that
Oh,
may
They
be a
might have
caveat
to
too.
be. I don't,
I think there was a Red Wing resident,
I
so
think so.
I think it is.
I think that's what I recall that it was. So,
Frank, can you remind me, what is our lease with Tower View? When does that go through?
2028.
And is that being changed at all before then? Okay.
So we would still lease levy that property. That's why it's, wherever if we were to move, we'd still be paying for that, that property out there. We would want to utilize that property to some degree.
that's a little bit.
The services that, so we have our services out there, our staff members that are out there, just so everybody's clear. There's also the services that GCED sends out there, so we would need to purchase those services either from GCED, social worker, special education, 0.5 that goes out there. Many services are still included in Tower View, so we either as an ALP have to get our own services and buy our own staff, which would increase our costs, or buy those services back from GCED, basically in reverse. We would still be,
But we're paying for those services now.
Right.
Mr. Norman, we're paying for those services now, but we have to pay more. Who had their hand up first? Go ahead.
Well, and we also currently pay for some of those social work services, and therapists and other things from GCD for all of our buildings, correct?
Mhm.
Yeah. So I feel like doing that for Tower View isn't any different than doing that for Burnside or Sunnyside.
no, I didn't say that was, I was just saying,
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
not disconnecting basically by doing the ALP,
Right.
that's all I'm saying.
Go ahead.
So are we essentially waiting to see what GCD decides on April 27th, whether or not they vote to combine the two programs? And at that point, we either fast track to make it our own program at Tower View, or we decide to wait an additional year to get more information, get all of those things lined up and possibly do it at that point? Or,
It's really just gonna be on this Wednesday, we'll know financing. We'll know, basically, if they combine the two programs together to give us one central cost, that's what you're saying. So if they take the River Bluff, they take Tower View, it costs this much to educate a kid here, ADM plus. This is how much it costs in this particular program to combine those together. If they don't do that, they come up with another formula, we would look at, Dr. Reagan and ourselves would look at what is going to be the cost, and then bring it back to the board and say, we run an ALP, here's how much it costs us to be able to run that. This is the additional cost that it's gonna incur. If we stay in for another year or whatever until 2000, whatever that time period is, here's how much it's going to cost. Either way, the program is basically going to be out there. It's really just what's the connections and what are the cost benefits. We still have to be financially responsible to the community. We want the program, but we want to look for how can we fiscally do this, and that was the starting point.
here's a small suggestion I'm gonna make to the board here. 11th hour kind of jumped at me here. The dates being thrown around here. And the amounts that Mr. Norton was talking about. I'd like to have a special meeting next Monday night. Talk about ALP versus ALC and give you an idea of what we're thinking before you go to your board meeting on the 27th.
I'm going to be out of town.
If you go virtual,
It would be, I'm going to be up north and I'm not
we could
sure.
all go up north.
It's a beautiful
But I think,
place on the cliffs of Lake Superior. I'm
Good for
getting
you.
back to
But I
nature.
still think we probably need to have numbers and stuff in front of us. I'd rather be proactive than reactive
Yes.
on this, because I like the program out there. Can we grow the program? Is there kids needing to go there, wanting to go there, can't go there? I don't know that question. And, so I'm gonna recommend, and we'll need a motion on it, a special meeting, whatever time you wanna do it, 5, 6 o'clock next Monday. I got a LMC meeting at 4:15, that goes to 5:15. You wanna do 5:30, we could do a special meeting, and just the only topic would be tower view, ALC versus ALP, and costs and timing and pros and cons of both. Because I don't know if we can sit here in 20 minutes and decide that.
Yeah. I will get the address and I will try my
That's fine.
best to come in. But certainly I'll call you if nothing else.
That sounds good. You have my number.
Yes, I
So
have.
are you
your
looking for a
number.
motion at the board meeting later?
To hold a special meeting, we have to have, 5 days or 3 days.
But we don't make a
whatever that is.
motion here, right?
We're gonna make a motion at the regular board meeting, we'll make a motion to move it, but this is before we discuss it.
Yeah.
So we're not gonna make it here, we'll make it at the
Right.
regular board meeting, we'll add it to the
I think
agenda.
it's a great idea.
Is that enough time to get all the information that you would need, or like Jackie to run all the numbers she needs
She's
and
likely gonna have it on Wednesday,
Wednesday?
so
Okay,
I could build some background knowledge of the comparison of the two, but the numbers would be.
okay.
Yeah, Ms. Bjornsted, then Ms. Dunn.
Go ahead, Jennifer.
I just think it would be important to have, as Mr. Ryan said, that information about enrollment and students, how many students are on the wait list, what does that look like, for us going forward, if we were to expand, then what are the numbers there to students?
And I feel like my job as a rep on that board is to bring forward what we as a collective think is right. And so the more information I have from us to carry to the board meeting, the more comfortable I feel being a little bit of my pushy self.
You're doing a fine job on there, so thank you for representing us.
Yes.
Just thinking of more information we would want, I think from the Anderson Center too. I know there was some discussion about possibility of adding classrooms, or, what does that look like in terms of things that we want fixed there, just so that everything is laid out. We have all the answers from everything that's been discussed over the last month.
Can you make it next Monday? Stephanie?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. We'll just talk about it then.
Clarification, we'll talk about it then.
Okay. We'll probably shoot for 5:30 ballpark time. We'll let you know, for sure.
Okay, are there, everything fixed and everything we need is kind of vague, so if there's
No.
things I need to take to my board before then, I'm.
Well,
Well, I know you've had discussions already, so.
Right.
Yeah, but I haven't gotten any clear guidance of what I'm asking for from our new public schools.
So that's what you need from us. Is that what you're saying?
That would be helpful, or I can go discuss some hypotheticals and come back to you with that. From my board, but yeah.
Why don't you, we can talk, or you can talk to Dr. Wagner, Mr. Norton, whichever one. We like the program, we like the location. So,
Okay, thank you, Jen.
yeah. Anything further on, Tower View? Sonora, do you have anything more? Dr. Wagner?
Oh, I think that's a good plan.
Okay, thank you. Do we have anything else? Director of Teaching, we might as well stay right there. Both of you. Director of Teaching and Learning Language. So,
I'm gonna let Martina take this one, but actually it was just brought to the board because it,
yep.
with the personnel committee, basically it was just a conversation about combining this or posting, how does that gonna be posted? I don't know, but,
Sure.
The board was aware that we have a discussion about adding, the possibility of adding the title of assistant superintendent to the director of teaching and learning.
Right.
And the personnel committee thinks it's a nice idea because that person currently, when we did that last posting from Dr. Wagner, we said either preferred or recommended or desired, however word you want. And we were very fortunate to get somebody that had that. And so your thoughts? The personnel committee is in favor of adding that terminology to the title, having it banded, so.
What is so when we last posted it, it was that a superintendent license was preferred, but the title wasn't assistant superintendent. So by changing that title, what all does that change? Like, are we changing income parameters then, responsibilities, or is it just, not just, but is it somebody who has that license who then is able to step in the absence of the superintendent, or is it adding responsibilities or things like that?
We posted with my exact job description, so we didn't change anything there.
Okay.
We didn't go really into the details about the assistant suit piece. I think it's worked nice for Superintendent Norton and I. If he was out, I could step in as a number 2, and vice versa. So that's how the conversation came up. We don't have a lot of candidates currently, but we do have a few who do have superintendent licenses. So I guess rereading the job description, it wouldn't be above and beyond what I'm currently doing. But again, the banding and grading, I don't know. We didn't really chat about the banding and grading for that.
A former full-time superintendent was encouraged to look at some type of assistance there to assist in the operation, day-to-day operation. And it didn't really materialize. We do need to have somebody because you have to have some type of succession plan. Mr. Nemenich filled in some because he has a superintendent license, but he's retiring to June 30th. So it makes sense to have that included in that. And we just passed an organizational chart, revised organizational chart, where a lot of the duties fell under the director of teaching and learning, where they should be. We probably want to look at that again anyway, but I'm thinking that we're at the point here as a district where one person shouldn't be involved as much day-to-day operations as they should be because of all the other duties and responsibilities that he or she may have. So, does that make sense?
No.
Go ahead.
The last time we posted this, when we hired Dr. Wagner, the 3 finalists have their superintendent's license. So most now they get into a director of teaching and learning, they are looking, that when they're doing their programming, whether they're doing their doctorate, normally when they're doing their educational specialist license to get their degree in education specialist, they'll add in the superintendent classes. So just an FYI, as far as if you're looking for superintendent, you want somebody to back up the current superintendent, Dr. Wagner in the future, most applicants who are looking to move in that particular direction would have it.
Jackie, do you have any sense of how it might change the banding? I know you love making wild guesses.
I don't think it'd be right for her because this.
I just wonder if she would know, like, if,
I don't think she's actually on it.
oh, okay.
It'll have to be banded anyway because of adding that.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if she has any experience with it.
We could do that and bring it, but I mean, it's already sort of on the posting.
Yeah.
We could look and see what that might be, but we know what Dr. Wagner is making now. We just say, what is it here? What is it gonna be? And bring that back.
I think the other thing to put in the space is if we do find a high quality candidate who doesn't have that superintendent license, is it contingent on entering a program for that? Or do we have a plan or a number two in the event that the superintendent, I'm just thinking cautiously through all the,
So what would you recommend?
I mean, I would recommend we just see who applies.
No, I'm just saying, somebody that doesn't have it, but is striving towards
Yes.
getting it.
Yeah, that would
wants
be,
to. That should be a consideration for an applicant.
Yeah.
Within 12 months, I don't know what the time frame is,
yeah, it takes it's a 12-month program typically,
I don't know.
11-month program, so.
It is.
12-month program?
Yeah.
So you have to receive it within 12 months of being hired.
Programs start at different times of when you can enter, so I mean, it'd be dependent on that, just getting into a program too, depending on the,
We have to have some type of date, so somebody to actually want to do it.
Mhm.
So. All right, we'll just, is this on the regular agenda meeting?
This is just workshop talk.
So the consensus is we'll just go ahead and add that, so, okay, great.
so are we changing the title completely or just adding assist, so that's what my wonder. Or is it an assistant soup or is it dependent on licensure of the next candidate who would be? Maybe that's a whole different,
That's a great question.
I'm just not sure where we've landed here,
So-
so,
So in the workshop, it was just discussion.
Yeah.
And it's posted as it is, correct, Chair?
It's corrected, but with the possibility it
disclaimer.
could be
Yeah.
tweaked.
Mhm.
So I would think you'd want to add it there.
I think it should be added especially if that's the expectation, and if the idea is that, so if the expectation is that they have a superintendent's license or they're working towards it, and then also the expectation is that they're there to step in the absence of the superintendent, that functionally is an assistant superintendent. So, yeah, I think the title should reflect the work that they
Agree.
do.
I think we agree.
okay.
Good. Other topics? There's some other ones that we're teaching and learning. We're talking about that right now. Operations, human resource and negotiations, and other general topics. So, yes.
So are you asking if we want to additional topics for next? Is that what we're thinking, or?
Well, I think for our next topic, our workshop is, next workshop is May 1st. I think Tower View will still be on there.
Right.
And whatever process, whatever direction we're going there. What else do you have?
Well, I feel like we need to revisit start times, or maybe set up a situation where we're asking our admins, because it's not really our wheelhouse or our area of expertise, but maybe we need to be asking our admin team to survey staff and families about how they feel about start times. I think as educators, you are always evaluating your programs for their effectiveness and making changes and adjustments. And we've been in this schedule where the younger students start early and the older kids start later for 2 years. And I think that it's a good idea to take a look at that and see if it's working and if we do need to make adjustments.
I've suggested it, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. Then Ms. Schulberg.
I thought this was something like, didn't we have like a strategic planner coming in or I thought that this would be something that could fall into that. Because if you go and change something now, and then it turns out with the strategic plan, that it would work out better a different way. I just remember that I obviously chose for the olders to go for. That, for me and for many, that makes sense, but I do remember how traumatic that was on the younger ones and their families, just even that process. So maybe just really looking at it with a delicate lens and involving the families. And when you involve the families, you have a moment to have them engage with other families to see what would work for everybody, you know? So that was a very memorable, and that was a memorable one for me outside of board meetings. And obviously I'm pretty flowy. my kids are close in age, I'll make it work. But for others, I do remember how memorable that was and traumatic that was for a lot of younger families and children. So just make sure we keep that in mind when we go to flip something else on someone.
It's so important.
I suggested maybe doing, I thought we should survey parents of students in the district, because first and foremost, it should come down to what benefits our students first. So I think we're being asked to do that.
I think a survey of
That's
parents,
kind of what I was getting at.
just parents that have students in the district. Let's start there. I think because you're right. You're both right. It's about the kids, how that affects this and that. It's not that we don't want the other people's involvement. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying initially we should start with parents of the children in the school district.
So we are getting an update on busing things on June 5th. I think if we want to do a survey before that, that's great, but I don't want to revisit the start times until we have updates on the busing, because I would love for all of our schools to start within a half hour of each other. I think that makes the most sense. Like, it's a no-brainer, but we've been told over and over and over again that it is impossible for transportation. That frustrates me to no end, but it is what it is. So until we get that information, like, we can decide whatever we want, but if the busing company can't make it happen, then it's irrelevant, you know?
Well, I think the question though is to flip flop the start times.
Yeah, but even with that, like, we
And to
still don't know
shorten
that
the-
busing. But that distance between them, that's about the busing, what their turnaround is. They're just,
I'll say that. Mr. North.
So then June was the timeline basically that was given, so we gave them
Yep.
quite a bit of timeline. But I asked Terry to come earlier.
Okay.
So we wouldn't wait until June, we should have that by mid-May.
okay,
I'm not pushing him, but I am asking him to be able to give us something a little bit earlier so that we aren't waiting. The community isn't making a decision at the last minute. I mean, we could do this for this year and still look at the next year. I mean, the process
Right.
really should play out. If we can get the survey, and we can do it in a timely manner, and we have 3 to 4 months for us to be able to establish within the school to take care of the kids if they need daycare, whatever it might be. That plan can be put into place, and it's not a last minute decision, which I think is the most frustrating thing for parents, basically. And the scariest thing to the director's point of view, and they amplify that. So I'm gonna push him.
Let's,
He has told me that he will bring it
probably
earlier.
the second meeting in May.
Okay,
That's more than hope. Let's tell them we need it.
okay, I will do that, sir.
So once we have that information, then we can determine what to survey, ask our parents about,
Right.
once we know.
If you want, should we survey before that?
You could begin the process of putting it together, certainly, and have it ready to go. Okay,
Can I just make a suggestion on
Sure.
the surveying style? I would mimic how you did it with the superintendent search, with getting actual people out to the community. Amongst, especially Prairie Island and Indigenous community, our voices were actually heard. So I've said it before, I'll keep saying it, Indigenous people amongst many other people. We're oral traditional people. We don't communicate via writing and things like that, and that goes beyond just Indigenous people. So in order to have all voices heard at the table, let's offer a multitude of ways that they can be heard too.
Yeah, good point. And I've said it before, and others have said it, no matter what we do, we're not gonna make everybody happy. So, but we wanna hear it. If we can't do it this year, we can always look at shaping it and modeling it and massaging it to something that may work better for more people. So, okay? Anything else? Probably not, probably the 17th, then we'll have a discussion, no, the 15th of May. If that's okay, Ms. Bjornstad?
Yeah, I just feel like Frank brought it up and we talked about it for like 2 minutes. And I think it deserves a larger conversation. And as Director Buck said, with the educational planner coming, that's going to grab a lot of input from a lot of different community groups too. So I think it needs to be a continued conversation.
The workshop's about, having discussion.
Yep.
Anything else? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the workshop. Motion by Ms. Osendorf, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Ms. Bjornsted. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carried. We'll adjourn, start our regular meeting at approximately, well, we'll start it by 6:20. For sure. We're.
My request for that, okay, right now.
We've already done the pledge of allegiance, and Ms. Buck is gonna read our mission statement. When we get going here, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
The mission of the Red Wing Public Schools is to educate and inspire all students as they realize their full potential and become respectful, responsible, and productive citizens.
Thank you very much. We have the meeting agenda in front of you. We have one addition we talked about at the workshop, calling a special meeting for Monday, April 24th. We'll do that at the upcoming meetings and adjournment. Do you have a time that we can talk about a time there, or is 5:30 work for everybody?
What time for me?
5:30?
I'm not promising anything. I'll do my best, that's my promise.
Okay, well, anybody else have anything they want to add to the agenda? Now I'll entertain a motion to approve the amended agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Ossendorf, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Schoenfelder. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. We have the educational plan in front of us. It's also up on the tripod over here. And then the next thing we have is recognitions and upcoming events. Anybody have anything they'd like to discuss? Ms. Buck?
This week is starting tomorrow, MIEA up at Prior Lake. We've got the Dakota language team. I think we've got a couple teams going up to compete in the language bowl on Wednesday. I guess Tori and some of the NASA students finished up matching shirts and ribbon skirts for the girls, and then ribbon shirts for the boys, which we have 2 non-Indigenous students that will be joining them and wearing those ribbon shirts. So, and also in recognition, we have 3 students from Red Wing High School that got nominated. Jamie Johnson, Brianna Tix, and Dwayne Taylor, along with our very own Mr. Nemenich as Principal of the Year through MIEA. Levita Wells got Elder of the Year too. She's from Prairie Island. So it's a pretty big accomplishment for Red Wing Public Schools to be nominated in so many areas at MIEA this year. So congratulations, district.
Congratulations to all of them. Thank you,
Mhm.
Ms. Buck. Ms. Schoenfelder?
Yeah, I had a conversation with Mick Ledlin, who helps run our Flight Path program, and I just wanted to share, it was a really great conversation. He told me that they had 6 students that took part in a pilot program between Winger Flight Paths and the Red Wing Shoe Marketing Department. And part of a condition of that opportunity was that the students were requested to give a presentation back to the marketing department and Red Wing Shoe, which they did, to the CEO and CHRO. And the staff gave them really high praise, I guess, about what the students learned, their ability to give a solid presentation, and they were just overall really impressed with those students. And in Mick's words, he said it was certainly an exciting presentation and a proud moment for the district to get that kind of feedback from Red Wing Shoe. So I thought that was worth mentioning.
Great. Yes, Ms. Buck.
We have 3 members of our speech team who are going to state competition, which is a big deal. So Rachel Dawkins in drama, and Allie and Nora Meyer in duo. Congratulations.
I believe it's Earth Week too this week. So I see some across Instagram. I don't do Facebook, I do Instagram. We all know that. So that's very good.
Earth Day every day in my world.
Well, thank you, everybody, for your comments. We have public comment time. I did not get any emails, did you?
I did not.
We do have 1 person that's present and wishes to speak. I'll read our information that we request on it. We read before each meeting, for anybody wishes to speak. The school board would like to provide interested community members an opportunity to provide appropriate comment. We seriously consider all questions, concerns presented, but we follow protocols to ensure orderly operation of the meeting and development of an appropriate response. Public may provide comment in person and sign in upon arrival, or public comment may be shared by emailing statements to jrbryan@rwps.org or fgnorton@rwps.org, or by noon the day of the meeting. The statements must include the writer's name and address. Upon review with the appropriate edits as per expectations outlined in the public comment portion of the school board agenda, the individual will be invited to attend the meeting virtual and read their statement to the board during the public comment portion of the agenda. The following guidelines will be followed during public comment. We expect that comments be limited to 3 minutes per person, that a representative be selected to speak on behalf of a group of individuals attending the meeting for the same topic. School board members will listen to the public comments, but will not discuss the topic at the meeting. The superintendent and/or school board chair may provide a response outlining the steps the school district has taken or will take to address any concerns. A summary of the school district action in response to the public comment will be provided to the school board individuals submitting public comment and/or public at a later date as appropriate. We expect that comments remain respectful and appropriate and not identify any current or former students by their families or staff members by name. Okay, with that, I'll have Mr. Stander come forward, please. Sit right there, Mr. Nordhagen. Good evening, how are you?
Fine, thank you, welcome, and I appreciate having the opportunity.
Sure.
As a director of special education, 31 years in this community, hi Therese. I had an opportunity to work with the original plans for Towerview, and that's what I want to make my brief comments about. Towerview was more than just an alternative program. The setting, the opportunities for kids to feel valued, that there wasn't a place they were sent to, but a place where they were to learn, was really an excellent opportunity, and to me was one of the gems of this community. One of the things, I really appreciate your comments today, talking about the impact on staff. It's like you're moving quickly. You're trying to get all these things done, and you haven't said, is it just cost that's driving it? What is it? We have to look at the impact on these costs, but also look at the impact on the staff. And you mentioned that. Where are they going to be next year? Are they going to be here? Are they looking for a job? Do they have to start looking elsewhere? But the impact on students, and the real impact, the value of what we do is the success of the students. And one of the things that has always struck me about Towerview, and you compare it to other alternative programs, was the success rate of the young people. How many of them finished school? How many of them finished and became involved with their community? And that was their self-worth was brought about by being at Towerview. I think it's an excellent program. Staff have proven that for over 30 years, over 40 years now, I think. And I would encourage you to be thoughtful in your discussions as you share with the Ed District superintendents and with their board. Hey, why are we going this quickly? What is going to be the expected impact? It isn't the number of beams that are in what corner and what building. It's what are we building, and what are we doing for our students, for their future and our communities. I appreciate your discussions tonight, and I encourage you to be thoughtful as you look at that and say, is this what we really want? And this is what we'll support. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nordhagen.
And I will have a conflict Monday night.
You do?
Well, maybe I'll send you.
Oh, you have the Lions meeting, that's right. Have a good meeting. Okay, nothing else, we don't have nothing else, nobody else? Nobody else, okay. School board reports. Anybody wish to start reporting any school board reports? Yes. Mr. Oscar.
Well, our APEC meeting was postponed this month, but I think we should probably keep in mind that one of the things that we need to do to get a letter of concurrence is hire a director of Indian Ed. And I don't want us to lose sight of that, you know, we're continuing our superintendent and our director of curriculum instruction, that we are looking at how we can make that happen for next year.
Agreed. We also have any other committee assignments? think I had any. So, nope. All right, we'll go on to administrative reports.
So I just have a few, because most of my topics have been covered in either workshop or in the consent agenda. So it's really just about our field trips, and we always let the board know when we're going to be going on field trips and where they are, and you have that within your packet. The first one basically is, if I could open this up here, Red Wing College, but the first one, actually, let me jump back, the Red Wing College Promise data sharing. So there's a long list of data sharing agreements, but we finalized the one with Red Wing College Promise. We were just talking about Red Wing College Promise during the workshop. We have Diane Jacobson now works within the building here, and the data agreement now is finalized and is a portion of the packet on the consent agenda. The other two are the field trips, and overnight field trips happening with the Eagle Bluff Environmental Learning Center, the residential experience, and it's an overnight trip. So that the public is aware, anytime there's an overnight field trip, we go to the board just to get that approved by the board. So that is happening, the 180 students that'll be traveling May 30th and the 31st. Fourth graders will be traveling, which is always fun. Corralling up the fourth graders and taking them on a trip. Any volunteers for volunteering to chaperone? I'm sure that, I didn't see anybody raise their hand, so.
I'll sort my side door.
So the list is attached, there's not a lot more that's on there, but the overnight field trip is on the consent agenda. That's all I have, Director.
Great, thank you. Any questions for Interim Superintendent Martin? Okay. Consent agenda, start with those and then we'll do donation and grants after that. Anybody wish to have anything pulled from the consent agenda? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Osdorf, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Tiff. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next thing is donations and grants, and I think we have three things, if I remember seeing that correctly. Mr. Norton?
Yes, there are three. The first one is from the Black Dog Animal Hospital. It's a $100 donation to the trap and skeet team. The second donation is from United Way Community Investment Education Grant in the sum of $9,000, which will go to the Cabo Kids Preschool Program. And the last is our Associated Bank, which is donating $140 to our Angel Fund. Our Angel Fund, as you're all aware, is to reduction of people who can't afford meals, but we still feed them at the schools, and that is a dollar amount that can reduce their costs.
Very good.
I will make a motion to approve the resolution accepting donations and grants.
Motion by Ms. Tiff, is there a second? Second by Ms. Bjornsted. And we'll do a roll call vote, but before that, I want to thank everybody for their generous donations. The Trap Ski Team and the Angel Fund, we've been getting quite a bit for that, for the Angel Fund, so people listening out there in TV land wants to donate, please get a hold of the district office, and they'd be happy to accept any donations for anything for the operation of this wonderful school district. So, start with Ms. Buck.
Aye.
Ms. Schoenfelder.
Aye.
Ms. Ossendorf.
Aye.
Ms. Bjornsted.
Aye.
Ms. Tiff.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Thank you very much. Non-renewal of teachers and staff. Mr. Norton.
This is a list of, on here, the number of staff members. It includes teachers, it includes our special education staff, it includes our program support teachers as well. The non-renewal portion of it doesn't necessarily mean it's non-renewal for performance. It could be a budget reduction, which we did have a budget reduction of approximately $620,000 to meet our budget. So reductions, a lot of the reductions within this are about that. The staff have been informed, they were informed prior to this with a non-renewal notice. Tonight is simply your voting on those non-renewals, and then the letters will go out from the district office, official letters.
This is something that's every year, there's some non-renewals every year.
Every year, this is basically what happens. I can't speak to whether this is a shorter list or a larger list, but it is in the plans. Some of these staff basically also are not licensed within an area, they're operating outside of a license, out of field placement and OFP basically. So they have to be non-renewed, and then a 60-day timeline goes by, and then if we feel that we want to bring them back, or they interview and they can come back into that same position. There's a process to this as far as licensing is concerned with some of these staff members as well.
Okay. Any questions? Now I'll entertain a motion to approve the recommendation.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Ostrov, is there a second? Second by Ms. Schoenfelder, any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Is this a resolution? I have this in my notes as a resolution.
Yeah.
So was a resolution, it's approved of all the resolutions, I didn't see that, I saw the recommendation. Resolutions require roll call vote, Ms. Bjornsted,
Aye.
Ms. Tiff,
Aye.
Ms. Ossendorf,
Aye.
Ms. Schoenfelder,
Aye.
Ms. Buck,
Aye.
chair votes aye. Thank you for catching that. Next is the sale of land. As you know, we have some land down on Ski Road. Mr. Norton, I'll let you take care of it.
Correct, we had some land down on Ski Road, and it's been brought up several times. The previous administration brought up, it never really went anywhere as far as the land sale is concerned. It was brought up again earlier this year. And through that process, basically of posting, contacting people within the community that may or may not be interested in that particular property. And in the end, got a bid that you can see within your packet to be able to sell that. We've given it to the proper people to do it, to get the proper deeds in place. It's come to the board to accept that sale.
Ms. Buck,
Was Crayon and Tipple ever contacted?
Yes, we're contacted on several occasions by phone, trying to line up meetings with them, and then in the end, actually contacted again to see if they were interested in it before we put it out to sale. And even after that, again, contacted to let them know that it was going to be going out to bid and if they wanted in on that process. And there was no response.
Well, obviously, there's not gonna be a response. You're asking us to buy our land back.
It was, the initial proposal was not a sale. The initial proposal was to the tribe was that it would be given. There wasn't a response, wasn't taken back. So that's why we went in that particular direction.
yes.
Can I ask so the sale proceeds, where that money, does that just go into our general budget?
It does.
Any other questions? What's the board wish to do? We only had one bid.
I move to approve the attached resolution.
Motion by Ms. Ostrov, is there a second? Is there a second? I'll second. This will get on the table. Discussion? Yes. Ms. Tiff.
I guess I would like to hear more from Director Buck, about, her line of thought. I could say that, I appreciate that the district, Frank, you in particular, reached out to Prairie Island Indian community to see if they were interested in the land. I would like to know, I guess I would like to know more about that process, or what occurred there, and if there was anything else that could have been done on our part I appreciate that you said that it was offered to them, and I'm just wondering if there was more that could be done, or if more people could be brought in, or if we could continue that process, or restart that process, so that I think this is an opportunity for us to continue to build community. Like Director Buck said at the beginning, talking about the recognition, and so proud of so many things that have been done in our school district with Prairie Island community and Red Wing at large. I just think this is another opportunity that I don't want us to throw away. And I know you have done some work there, and I really appreciate that, but I'm just wondering if there's more work that can be done.
I assume there's always work, but the direction was basically to offer, and if it's rejected, to continue, basically. So that's what I did. We can go back again to see if there is something. The process basically started with our liaison within the school district with Phil. His brother actually was the contact. So Phil put me in touch with Noah. We talked on the phone, and I told him what our plan was, basically that we wanted the land to belong to be given back. I gave him a couple of meeting dates. We corresponded back and forth to be able to say this is the meeting date that we agreed on. And that correspondence, that didn't happen. The phone calls thereafter weren't returned, the messages left. He did return one, and he said he apologized because it was a couple of weeks in between that date. And then following that, nothing happened. And then the follow-up, basically, when we said we're going to put this up, is there for sale? We didn't get anything back after that from him. So I can if there's another person that I should be contacting from the director who would be able to supply that information for me as opposed to Noah, that would be okay with me. I could go in that particular direction. If there's somebody else within the island but we sent the schematics, basically, this is the property that we're looking at, sent that to him and said, this is the piece that we're talking about right here. So we had access to be able to visualize it and look at it. I just didn't get anything back after our initial conversation.
We've got another tipple coming back, Frankie, because they're just too swamped.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to be able to bring more funding and people here. You're going to have to be able to present something that's different than other districts. And Red Wing already has a really, really good relationship building and continue building with a memorandum of agreement between the city of Prairie Island. I know Prairie Island and the Red Wing Public School District has a similar contract which they negotiate out with, especially with the teachers and the liaisons and stuff like that. What was once described as a swamp is a lifeline to Indigenous people. And there's a spot on the island that we had bought back. It's where the Bark Lodge is. It's the Oak Savannah. And it was an old Swedish homestead. And when we went to go restore it back to prairies and the Oak Savannah, a lot of remnants from an old homestead from the 1900s was there. And the Oak Savannah is only 1 to 15% of oak savannas in all of the world. And your prairie systems are your kidneys to the earth. And so when we went to go restore that, we also when we returned the land to its natural state, we also returned its culture to it, which we built that Bart Lodge there. And it does not belong to the government, it belongs to the people. So it doesn't belong to Prairie Island Tribal Council, Prairie Island Indian Community. It belongs to the people. So what you've witnessed in the last few months, starting with the Dakota Mural Project, is the opening of our community and embracing of our culture, our language, and our traditions, because it does not belong to us, it belongs to the land. So by being able to expand that, what we've done as a community is we didn't take that land for ourselves, but what we did was we restored it to its natural state, and then we share it with other people. So that land butts up. I know it's gotta be close to ours out there with our Frontenac land. Maybe someday, if it was given back, that we can do the same thing, but like an outdoor classroom. Because there's no difference from Nicky Buck 1995 when I had to get out half days of here because I could not stand being set inside these walls. It's not just a Nicky Buck thing or an ADHD thing, it's a human being thing. These students are disconnected from nature. That is the mental health component inside these walls. That is how you're going to attract different. That is how you're going to regenerate a different fund. And when you collaborate with diversity too, they also bring extras with their grant funding to the, along with like our Indigenous, our Native American, American Indian, however the government wants to word it. We have zero to little rules for our grant funding, but we can yet rope everybody else underneath us. So that was just my thought into that. Also from an Indigenous perspective, as I can notice that I'm about the only Indigenous, I'm not gonna be discriminatory about descendancy either, but from an Indigenous perspective, it's about doing the right thing, and things like going from 90-degree weather to 30-degree weather. Obviously we're doing something very wrong, aren't we? Mother Earth is coming down hard on us. So that's the Indigenous viewpoint. And in my mind, I can make a whole lot more money than $3,000 on that land, and for many generations to come.
Where do you own land out there?
The Mount Frontenac,
The ski lodge?
we're off the ski road too. I don't know him per se.
Yeah, okay. I figured that's what it was, but.
It looks like this property, like according to the map that's in here, one border is the state of Minnesota owned, one border is Brian Schreiber, and then there's the road, and across the road,
Mr. Murphy?
yeah,
Nancy
Michael Murphy, and then I can't tell like if this is, the plat is kind of cut off, so I don't know if Murphy owns that chunk too.
DNR owns state of Minnesota?
This chunk, I don't know
I don't
if
know
that's
if
the
he's-
same.
Might be. So what's the board wish to do? The motion on the table, we can vote it up or down, or we can table it.
I'm supportive of returning it to Prairie Island, but also would want to know like what more should we do? You know, do we just push it out to the next meeting and I don't know, try again? But I mean, I feel like if we don't get a response from who we think we need to be talking to, then, I mean, at some point we have to make other decisions, I guess.
Well, we could entertain a motion to table for 4 weeks. Would
I
that
can
be
get you a
applicable?
response on Prairie Island,
Pardon me?
I can track them down.
If you can help me do that, that would be appreciated, Director.
I've got internal meters on them.
Yeah. And it is possible because it's adjacent, it's directly adjacent to the land, the person who's bidding on this particular property. The next property over is state land. And it's a triangle, basically like this. I know that the audience, people in the community can see this. It's possible that he may have said that that isn't something that we would be able to utilize for what your vision is. I haven't been able to ascertain that, other than when contacted, there wasn't a response back. But I'd love to get a response, either positive or negative, one way or the other. If you could help me with that, that would be great. So I would.
Connections with the DNR too.
Mhm. So if you wanted to table it, I could certainly bring it back again.
I don't feel comfortable voting for it until we actually talk to someone.
I have talked to him. I just didn't get the
Well,
answer then. Okay, I just wanted to,
Yeah, no, I understand.
okay.
Let's someone wanna make a motion to table it for 4 weeks?
Do I need to rescind my other motion?
No, you can table, the motion will just stay on the table.
Okay.
And we just table this motion for 4 weeks, and there's just no debate if that's what the board wishes.
I will make that motion, we can table this motion for 4 weeks.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Tabled motion is non-debatable. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. It'll be brought back either one way or the other in 4 weeks. Fair enough?
Nina will be done.
What's that?
I said Nina will be done. That's many things,
Okay, great.
bigger than PWIA.
I think it's about, I'm not positive, but it's like a mile away from the ski lodge. All right, that's the next topic here. Administrative handbook. Mr. Norton.
So the administrative handbook is, it was in a red line version, was sort of out there, for some time actually. And what we're doing right now is I want you to approve it just for this period of time. Much of it will change, but we've already began the 2023, 2024 version, redlining that version. Dr. Wagner's name will take the place of my name, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I need something in here because there were several changes that you can see within. Primary changes really, as far as our dates. And I've changed them from actual dates to first week, second week, third week, as far as our process and procedures of what we accomplish throughout the school district year. So sometimes those dates, we'll do this on June 15th, for example, well, it'd be a Sunday. So just in order to accommodate basically not changing those dates every single year, those are the major changes that I wanted to get into place before my interim portion was done. We'll begin the process now of updating it again with Dr. Wagner's name and several other changes. Also, we're going to be changing it from names within the handbook in the latter pages to positions within, so that we're not searching for names that happen. For example, our business manager, or whatever title that is, will change that title at that particular time and take out Jackie's name. That's just a small example. And right now they're in there, and I'd like to change that. Okay, so tonight you're just approving it. You'll probably see this again in 4 months.
Further recommendation.
I move to approve it as presented.
Motion by Ms. Ossendorf. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by how many? 2 seconds, 3? Ms. Tim. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Exit data. Go ahead.
All right. I think you all have the document that I'm going to share, but I'll share my screen. So per the last meeting was requested for us to collect and even look into what are some of our exit criteria for students who are leaving the district. So I was able to work with Melinda and just get the exit codes for all of you. Some there was 0, so because there is not consistency with numbers there, it was just because we had a 0. And I wanted to get the data for you there. So generally speaking, across the board, we had 60 students overall who actually never started in the district but are in this count. So I want you to just recognize, like, September 6th came, They were slated to be enrolled in the district, either moved out of the district or moved out of state, did not stay local. So if you're looking at the numbers and trying to tally that, I wanted to be very clear on that. What I wanted to give you was just a better snapshot of those students who, specifically for today, we can talk about all of the leave code data. We do have to record that as a student leaves the district. But at the bottom, what I was able to do is pull up, we do have a process for students who actually stay in Red Wing, but open enroll into other districts, and we ask typically parent or guardian their reasoning. So what I was able to do, I had to actually go through all of the forms. It's not like electronically kept, it's just oral conversation and it's recorded and they're just asked for their reason. So what I did is I captured it in a quick graphic for you. Depending on how you interpret a parent's comment, it may fall into just a circumstance, a family circumstance, or they were very explicit, looking for smaller class sizes, looking for different curriculum, better curriculum, safer schools. There were some bullying situations that were explicitly shared as well. Some families cited that we live right on the border of Goodhue and Red Wing, and so we are choosing to geographically relocate because it's closer for economic circumstances, or other children are enrolled, so therefore we're not enrolling our incoming kindergartner. But the data that I'm showing below is just simply the students who remain in Red Wing as residents, but are choosing to open enroll in other districts. So they could also be enrolling in 5RO or other online entities. Now, you know, in Minnesota, a parent does have the luxury of enrolling into any online program. They don't just have to go to 5RO, but that count is in here as well. So I just wanted to give you a snapshot. What I wasn't able to capture that we aren't yet doing, or doing informally, is are the reasons why students are choosing to high flex their schedule. So for example, leaving a specific class to take a 5RO class that's similar because it's online. And so I'm working with our school counselors at the high school to really capture authentic feedback on why students are choosing to, what I like to say is high flex, because it's typically a one class and they're still staying here for a portion of their class. We also have students who leave completely, who do all 5RO as well. So we haven't collected the data, we have some loose understanding of, it's just, I have more flexibility in my schedule, or the perception that the course may be easier online. What I am asking for now is the return rate. Wasn't able to get that for all of you today, but there is a return rate for some of our students who do decide to go into online programming with the perception that it may be easier, recognizing there's just a big challenge or a lot of social isolation for that as well. So I'm working on trying to get that data to see the percentage of students who choose to go to an online program, but then quickly return to an in-person program. So that was a lot of information. So other questions that you have?
Questions? Yes.
Does this accurately capture everyone who has departed Red Wing School District? Is everyone who's left represented on this?
For the most part, yes. I think it was and this is only for this school year.
Sure.
So I'm just looking at what has happened since September 6th until just last week, was being able to pull the data. It seems to me that we have exit codes for most. We have to actually report why they're leaving. Sometimes students will enroll in another district and they never request a transcript, so we can't figure out where they went. So we kind of make some, that would be the code 18, so they're withdrawn, but there's no transcript request, we're not sure where they left. But for the most part, yes, when a student is exiting the system, we have to code them out.
So for example, if a student left to open enroll, let's say, in Goodhue or St. John's.
Yep.
And they don't tell you necessarily, and nobody asks them, but you get a request for their
Yes.
file.
Yep.
Does that get coded as they just left the district to go to another
So
school?
they'd be a
So it
code
might not be representative that they were like, they reported like bullying was an issue.
Right, so we
or-
didn't, for as many people, as many students who are in a code 20, we didn't have as many, not everybody chose to give feedback or didn't answer the phone. It's actually a phone call that's made. It's not an email that's sent with an opportunity for the parent or the guardian to actually give a reason for leaving. So yeah, I think of the 65, we only really had about 30 that gave a response that we could capture. And what I tried to do is if it was multiple children in a family, I counted it more than once.
And who reaches out for that
Right now, it's
information?
our Mars coordinator.
How long has that reaching out, because I've left the district multiple times,
Sure.
I've got multiple children. And we leave, and then we come back, and we leave and come back again. But nobody's ever reached out to me to find out why.
Same, that's why I was asking.
Okay, well, I'm trusting that what I'm told, I'm repeating, so
Yeah.
I can spot check that.
And the last time we left was when COVID hit and,
Mhm.
I think I became school board member my
Sure.
first year, 2021. I think I flipped all three of mine and then flipped them back.
And no one ever called.
There is
So
a
that was
form,
not the
so I was actually going through forms. So you may have filled out a form and written or chose not to write anything. I know, the one thing that, our Mars coordinator did note that anything that she recorded from a telephone conversation, she does write in red. So I can clarify though. If it was the form that you filled out to remove students to enroll elsewhere.
So if somebody unenrolled and filled out that form, would they still be called, or
If they left
the
a
form
reason-
gave enough information,
Yep,
then they would just
then what we
not?
did is we just captured it this last week and put it into general themes that were emerging. Everybody was just a little bit different. Sometimes it was just a quick statement, other times it was a narrative, and we were pulling out what that theme was.
Well, good information. I think taking another step in a different direction is, we're interested in the exit data.
Mhm.
But I also think we had talked at one time, highlighting people that want to be here, people that enjoy being here, approaching that as a positive through our website, through however means we can get people that speak. We talked about that to some degree. So that'd be something down the road we should be looking at also. Sure, looking to see who's leaving, but let's also focus on those that are here. How can we do that better? How can we get that out there so the message is not always this versus
Sure,
hundreds are this.
the successes.
So.
I think one place we're getting that is our district advisory committee. I just want to highlight that. We have 44 who attend regularly, and while everything isn't perfect, they are committed and they are sharing. We're getting to the point now where our strategic plan is leaning more into what is a desired lived experience as a community member, a parent, a student, a teacher, a leader. And so then how do we lean into that? So as we're making decisions, we're consistently leaning into the voices of all of the people represented and trying to replicate that. I think this data also tells us where there's some opportunities for us to start thinking about other things programmatically, so that we can be responding to student needs, to, in the event that a student feels safer by going online, what can we do to ensure that they're safe here? If a student feels like there's more flexibility in online programming, how do we have our own online programming that maybe isn't outsourced? Those are just ideas that have come up since, we're looking at this and we are losing enrollment. So, how do we look at some of perhaps the pieces that appear negative and really use them for good and think about next steps for our district as well.
The other thing on top of that is new students coming into the district. How do we welcome them? How can we stay on top of them? How can we encourage them, be supportive of them as they're coming in and just, we've heard the stories where they call and nobody calls them back. I'm not suggesting, I'm just saying, is there some type of welcome packet? Is there somebody around here to lead them, to talk to them, show them the room, the building, whatever building they're in, District down Twin Bluff or in Burnside, or this high school, the Sunnyside, it's age, they just let's strive to do a better job in everything on that. So,
When someone open enrolls in, do we collect any data about why they're opening and enrolling in?
Into us?
Yeah.
I think it would just be an enrollment, so it just depends on, maybe Mr. Morton has more on that, but.
So there's in between the districts, so if we had somebody that was open enrolling from Goodview and coming in, they need to tell us that they're coming, and we sign an agreement that that's going to be happening, and there's a reason that's written on that form. Most of them do say, if they're going, I'll use Goodview as an example, because I know there's 5 kids that went to that particular school in this year 5. So if that was the 5, they would say, my sibling goes there, therefore I'm going there. I'm demographically closer, although the line puts me in Red Wing. I'm demographically actually closer. And I work as a parent, work in Rochester, so I'm going that way. And those reasons are captured basically on those documents, and we share those documents back and forth. So we do know why they're coming.
Because I think that would be interesting too, is why are people coming to Red Wing? You know, if they're on that line, why does someone choose to go to Goodhue? And why does someone choose to go to Red Wing? You know, the people who are in that kind of in-between zone. I think that might be kind of
So
interesting.
we can go back to each one of those agreements. Now, there's not a lot.
Sure, yeah.
But there are enough. I think it's probably 12, 15 that we've got received this year.
Very good. Thank you. One more question? Oh, Ms. Buck, sorry.
I came from Ellsworth here, 8th grade, because it's diverse. It's a lot. Red Wing is far more diverse than the other cities. Back then, 20-some years ago, diverse with Prairie Island, but at the same time, I was experiencing racism where I was the only ethnic person over there. So coming over here, Mom said it was a must. Well, we moved from Ellsworth too. We bought a house over here. Now coming circle back with my kids, I pulled 2 of them twice from the district, brought them back twice, and then just 1. The reasoning why I keep coming back is because I do face challenges in those other ways, or they've served me for the time that they're gonna serve. Like I pulled one of my kids from here to Montessori school to work on the mental health component because I needed something smaller. It served, but ultimately we circle back here because Red Wing, maybe not before, but now we're talking about these things like bullying, safer schools, curriculum, smaller class sizes. I've noticed those are 10, 10, 10, 10. So that would be probably a very good, even though it's a smaller number, it'd be a consistent number of things that I've seen being here and transitioning differently. But I would have to say, to your point, Jim, about highlighting the good, nowhere's perfect, but I think what we have in Red Wing is very special. And so, like I say, even though I smile that I've left and come back so many times, I'm smiling just because you've gotten me back and I'm a school board member now. So, just to see it as that, and I think we're heading in the right direction, and I think we're doing progressive, so.
You hit the nail on the head by, there's gonna be issues everywhere you go. Well, you didn't say that exactly, but we're doing our best.
Yeah.
We're striving, we're working towards those things, and let's highlight what we're doing good here. Because we're so, sometimes we're reactive, let's be proactive.
I think the work that we're doing with Inflection is pretty powerful too, with capturing the voice of our community. Our building administrators are working with their teachers. We're setting up, we'll be at Twin Bluff in a week to work with students to get their feedback on our new Maxim, what we're reimagining the next generation for Red Wing to be. We are also in the works of updating our website, so we're super excited about that because that's also a really important marketing tool. And so that will actually be launched in early August. So there's just some exciting things that we are capturing the right voices through oral tradition and through speaking, and not just surveys. I mean, surveys one piece of it, but really getting candid feedback from our stakeholder groups. And I'm just really excited about the next step. So this tells us one piece, but it's one picture in the photo album, and we need a photo album. So yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions? Hearing none. Okay. We'll go on to policy revision 101 to 104. Mr. Norton.
We talked about this during the workshop. Basically, the policy 101 really is the purpose, legal status of the school district, and what we are called. The purpose of the policy is to clarify the legal status of the school district. So that was 101. Powers and privileges. Any questions on 101 or 104? You guys have a chance to be able to read through them. We're going to be bringing these frequently now as we move forward till the end of the school year. Try to get through as many of the 100s as we possibly can. We did the 400s for the sake of the community. Basically, we did a lot of 400s and 500s this fall. Now we start back over again.
We review them every 3 years.
Correct. So There aren't a lot of changes you can see the changes inside here. Some of the changes, this is why it doesn't take 3 readings, is we're changing what used to be MIN and MIN, short for the long version of Minnesota. So it's very small changes, so it just takes 1 reading, basically, you just have to approve it. Nothing has changed other than that.
I move to adopt the revisions to policies 101, 102, and 103 as presented.
104,
Oh, is 104 on there too? This is within the book.
101 through 104.
Yes, 101 through 104.
Ms. Osborne, for a second.
Sorry.
Second by Mr. Armstead. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And before we go into closed session, we're gonna come back to this one and just adjourn. So I would like to have a motion prior to that, since we're on recording here and anybody wishes to watch it tonight or another night, about our special meeting next week. So I'll entertain a motion to call a special meeting on Tower View at 5:30, April 24th at 5:30 in J110. Is there a motion for that?
So moved.
Ms. Ossendorf, is there a second?
Second.
Second, Ms. Schoenfelder. Any discussion?
April 24th at 5:30. Yes.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Lisa, would you send out an invite on that, please? So right now, we're gonna go into closed session. Thank you very much for coming. We'll take about a 5-minute recess.
You were looking at me like you wanted me to say.
Oh, we need a motion to go into closed session, yes.
I will make a motion to discuss negotiations.
For a second.
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 Okay, go ahead.
All in favor, say aye.
I'll do that.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We'll be in closed session shortly.
So we need to log out of this meeting, correct?
Yep.
Before you kick us out.
I'm hoping that I can.
Superintendent?
Yes, it's a good idea.
Yeah, there's people that come, they just sit.